What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this Jessica Jones Season 2 full review. So there will be spoilers for this season if you haven't seen it. Just briefly before the spoilers start, I really did enjoy this season. It was immensely watchable, like I said on Twitter. You can check me out on Twitter in the links down below in the description. It was fun. Fun is probably not the best way to kind of describing Jessica Jones Season 2, but it was, like I said, watchable. That's the best way I can describe this season so far. And it is a lot different in kind of tone to the first season in the way that it has... the first season had the Purple Man, with David Tennant playing possibly one of the best Marvel villains we've had to date. However, in Season 2, we have an overarching mystery with a big twist, which was interesting, it was shocking, something which I personally never expected, but we never had the clear villain. And the problem with this season was that we had it very sporadically. There was subplot after subplot, and really it kind of distracted from the entire show, and it kind of lacked focus. Now let's jump in to the spoilers. So the whole season was a bit of a grind in parts, personally, I found. Now, the lack of overarching villain, we had the Dr. Malice, which was Dr. Carl from the comics, a villain of Spider-Woman, who is a lot different here. It's an aging hippie who is working for IGH, who, personally, I feel like they have a bigger agenda. I feel like there's still more to kind of get into this group, to be honest. I feel like they should add a bit more mystery to this, because making superpowered people is something which is kind of like government level conspiracy, isn't it? So the problem with this is the fact that this villain wasn't particularly evil. He wasn't bad. He was experimented on people. However, the dude simply just wanted to make a great serum, and it was stolen and used for the combat enhancement user, which we did have when Will Simpson returned, and we got the kind of inhaler was given over to Trish Walker, so she got that kind of combat enhancer, and that was yet another subplot after subplot after subplot. And the lack of overarching real villain, I think that was a real shame, to be honest, and did kind of make it a real slow burner. And to be honest, by the end, there was no resolution. There was never really anything to write home about, in the way that there was no sort of end cap, so to speak. Because the whole mystery was this mysterious killer who was killing superpowered beings who were coming to Jessica Jones, one of which was the Wizard, who actually had a comic book version of himself. He was a very early comic book hero in the 40s, and who was a peer of Captain America, which was really funny, to say the least. So I did enjoy that they've taken some kind of liberal sort of usage with the Wizard, and we had a few others kind of people being killed, but it was simply turned out to be, it was the mother of Jessica Jones, who also survived and was looking very kind of Deadpool-esque with the burns on the back of her head. So the kind of technique that was used to bring back Jessica Jones didn't seem to really work all that well on her mother. So it's kind of interesting that they had this mystery, but the problem is the fact that the reason that Season 1 worked so well, not only was it Kristen Ritter, who was amazing in the role of Jessica Jones, but David Tennant was such a superb villain. It was clear focus. We had someone who was the complete opposite of kind of how things should be, and really was an oppressive, abusive partner. And this time we really just get a mother-daughter reunion, and they never seem to connect at some point. So we can never get Jessica Jones trying to save her mother. It's simply the fact that she feels like she has to. She never seems to actually want to. Now, maybe she would have got to that point if her mother wasn't actually killed by Trish, but I really highly doubt it, to be honest. The fact that the whole thing at the start of it was the fact that Jessica Jones isn't a killer. She doesn't want to be a killer, and her mother is a killer, and that's where she absolutely draws the line 100%. Now, it's weird we never got any kind of Defenders payoff. There was no sort of mention of the Defenders. We never really saw anyone else from any of the shows. Obviously we've got the people who transcend the shows. We've got Jerry Hogarth as well. Trish, her TV show is featured throughout all of the shows. Actually, I think most of them from Jessica Jones onwards. And we also got Foggy at the law company as well. And we've got the detectives as well who were involved in a few of the cases in the other shows. So it's a bit weird that we never got any kind of mention of Defenders or anything like that, which was a shame, because I love it when these shows work well and gel together, because God knows they're not actually going to connect to any of the other MCU properties, are they, whatsoever. It's a real shame they don't connect, but they do. Now, what is really weird here, if you've watched my previous videos on the timeline of these kind of Netflix shows, you will know that I'm a bit confused as to where these actually lie. Now, maximum, this has to be about 6 months. However, when the mother of Jessica Jones returns and she starts killing everyone, her mother, Jessica actually mentions that there is a prison where she can go, which is called the Raft. Now, the Raft was somewhere featured in the Negative Zone. It was a kind of superhuman prison, and it was also a big thing used at the end of Captain America Civil War, where all of Team Cap were held at the end. Also, in the Infinity War Prelude comic, they've been broken out by Captain America. So that is pretty neat that they mentioned the Raft. And Captain America was also mentioned when we had Jessica Jones' new love interest. The son of him mentioned that he'd lost Captain America's shield, which again moves into Infinity War, where Captain America is getting a new shield, a new Wakandan shield as well. So a very low-key Infinity War maybe reference there. Maybe we're just reading just a tad too much into that. Now, one thing I found really weird was all the mentions of Spider-Man. Now, the Wizard mentioned that kind of with great power comes great pain. I think that's, I'm paraphrasing there. It's been a while since I watched that episode, but that he mentioned that. We also had the mentions of kind of sense tingling, and also in the last episode we have the mention of possible kind of, does Jessica Jones have super sense and things like that. So there's a hell of a lot of Spider-Man references. Now, it does make sense because Jessica actually went to the same school in the comics as Spider-Man. That's how they worked that, they retconned that in, and she kind of was interested in him. So I think that's a pretty neat reference there. Stan Lee also on the bus as well, which was really funny. I did really like the fact that he was on the back of the bus. It's always in these Netflix shows, he's on like a poster or like on TV or something, which is pretty funny. And we also had another MCU staple, which is Turk, the arms dealer. He was in Daredevil, Iron Fist, The Punisher. He's just there getting about, and he's actually doing well here. He's actually he's got a nice car. He had a Porsche. He's not getting beaten up for once in this season, which was really funny. So we had, like I said, we've got quite a lot of subplots. Now, Trish, we get the kind of origin of her. We get a modern origin as it is now, because she was a child star. She had a new song, and then she started to use and became addicted to drugs, which was never going to go right here whatsoever, is it? So we actually have her original sort of, it's Patsy costume at the start, and that's a reference also to her original origins, where she was in some kind of like Archie style comic, which was pretty funny. And over the course of the season, we actually see her start to get her yellow. So she starts wearing yellow. She's using the combat enhancer drug. So this is actually leading into the fact that she's going to become Hellcat. And by the end, right at the end in the last episode, when she picks up her phone, she manages to catch it. Well, that is some very cat-like reflexes, isn't it? So I can see that definitely becoming some sort of Hellcat reference, which definitely will move into the future. Now, did I like her subplot? I'm not too sure, because it's a bit too similar to what she had in the previous season. And it's a bit unbelievable because I couldn't see her really ever using that combat enhancer. And they felt like they rushed and forced the fact that she split up from Griffin. Just felt really forced. And the whole relationship with Malcolm, it just didn't fit. It didn't gel with me, to be honest. It just didn't seem believable and it seemed just shoehorned in. I feel that maybe they could have got her to join Jessica organically and then slowly maybe start using this drug at some points. I just didn't really like their subplot, but it definitely wasn't the worst of the subplots for me. I think definitely the worst one was Jerry Hogarth. Jerry, of course, is a dude in the comics, but here it is Carrie-Anne Moss. And what we have here is the fact she mentions Rand Corporation, but she's getting forced out of her law company here very, very slowly. And we have Malcolm as he goes through the motions of becoming a more prominent PI. Yeah. And we get the whole thing with the other PI company, which is pretty much just brushed off by like the 5th episode. It's just really, really odd. But it just didn't feel like any of this mattered. So they all blended into one, and Jerry's felt like it wasn't even needed. It's someone who we didn't need a whole subplot about her with her ALS and then being scammed by 2 scam artists. It wasn't needed. And I don't know if she is on borrowed time here. Will she be in the next season? Will she die in a future Netflix show? But it just didn't seem like it was warranted. But considering the nature of the main plot of Jessica Jones' story, didn't really have that much. There wasn't really much. You could fill 13 episodes with just that. So I can definitely see why they decided to add all these subplots, especially Malcolm with his rise to becoming a PI, which I'm not really that interested in, if I was brutally honest. I was more interested in Jessica Jones solving a huge mystery, which we didn't really get. And she never really got any closure with her mother. It wasn't resolved. They were on the run, and that was that. It never really went anywhere other than her mother was killed, which is a bit of a shame, because it would have been interesting to see her pop up later on to help her out if she got in trouble. But her mother was never really redeemable. She just kept murdering people, and in a sense, she just had to die. But let me know what you think in the comments of this season. Did you enjoy it? And while I did have many negatives, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, the way it was put together. The acting really did make it, especially the flashback episode, which was absolutely gripping. And to be honest, I really enjoy the world of Jessica Jones. I love the character and scene, and I just really want a happy ending for her, which again we didn't really get here, but she's starting off at the beginning, so maybe she'll be a bit happier next time round. However, that is it for this video. Please drop a like, please subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.